Wow, look at all those bubbles. Millions and millions of purple bubbles overflowing. It's incredible. Hi, this is Nature Jack. Welcome back to Science with Nature Jack at Home, and welcome the J Kid Philly community, and also welcome to all of our friends around the world who are watching Science with Nature Jack at Home videos. Today we're going to do lessons about something called yeast. Yeast is a fungus, and we're going to talk about a specific holiday called Passover. Welcome to the week of Passover for all of our Jewish friends. Passover commemorates when the Jews were in Egypt. They were called Israelites, and they were building large structures like the pyramids for the Pharaoh. It was a mean Pharaoh, and he was keeping the Jews or the Israelites in Egypt. And then they had a chance to leave Egypt in a hurry. So yeast is a type of fungus like mushrooms. And yeast, when mixes with sugars, creates a gas called carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is a gas which rises, and that's why we use yeast to make bread or challah. So when it's mixed with the simple carbohydrates in the mix to make bread and challah, it makes the bread and challah rise, and we get bread that actually looks like this. So it's very full. Now the Jews, when they had to leave Egypt in a hurry, didn't have time to add yeast to the bread, so they ended up making a flat bread called matzah. It looks like this, it's flat. And matzah is what we call the bread of affliction. And the Jews made their bread in a hurry, and it never had a chance to rise. So today we're going to do two experiments using yeast, and we're going to show you how yeast, when mixed with different solids, creates carbon dioxide and makes things rise. So the first experiment we're going to do is we're going to take some warm water, which you have at home, and you can put it in a pitcher or some kind of container. So we're going to take our warm water, and then of course we're going to add our yeast to it. You can buy yeast in the store. They sell packets of yeast. They also sell jars of yeast. Or if you go online, you can find large containers like this yeast. And what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 tablespoons, or essentially what's inside a packet of yeast from the store. And I'm going to take my 2 tablespoons of yeast, and I'm going to add it to this very warm water. I'm going to add just a little bit more, and I'm going to stir it up like this. So it mixes the yeast in the water, mixes together, and makes a yeast solution. Now inside that solution, I'm going to add some sugar. So you can buy sugar at the store, or you can get packets like this at Wawa or anywhere else you buy coffee. And you take the packets and you open them up. I'm going to put them into a science beaker because this is our science experiment. And I'm going to pour, again, 2 tablespoons of sugar into my yeast solution. So this is 1 tablespoon, and this is 2 tablespoons. And I'm going to mix that with my yeast and water. So we're going to have a yeast and sugar and water solution. And if you let your children smell it, it actually smells like Cheerios. So that's kind of fun to ask them what it smells like. So we're going to set that aside right here. And then we're going to take an empty bottle. And you know this bottle isn't completely empty. Does anybody know what it's filled with? It's actually filled with air, the same air that's surrounding us. So it's not exactly empty, but you can explain to your children that empty bottles are actually filled with air. So we're going to take that bottle, and then we're going to take a balloon. Hopefully you have some balloons at home from left over from a party or anywhere, and you want to make sure that the balloon is stretched out really well. So you want to pull it in all directions so it gets stretched out. So when it inflates, it grows the size it's supposed to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this yeast, water, and sugar solution, and I'm going to use a funnel which is shaped like a V to help pour it in. So I'm going to pour some of this solution into the bottle. I'm going to fill it up about halfway. Now, right now, while this is going on, the yeast is mixing with the sugar, and it's eating the sugars, creating that gas we talked about, carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull open the top of the balloon, or the lip of the balloon, and I'm going to put it over the opening of the bottle, or the neck of the bottle, we call it. You want to make sure that the balloon completely covers up the top so the air, the carbon dioxide doesn't escape. I'm going to shake it a little bit, and what happens is the yeast mixing with the sugar will start to create that carbon dioxide, and the balloon will inflate or fill up with carbon dioxide because the carbon dioxide inside the bottle has nowhere to go but up, and it can't get out of the top of the bottle. So the balloon will fill up with carbon dioxide and inflate. And it takes about 45 minutes to an hour, so you won't be able to see it right here, but here are 2 bottles I did earlier, and you can see that the balloons filled up with the carbon dioxide and they're inflated just like that. For our second experiment today, we're going to use yeast again. I'm doing one of my favorite experiments that I so enjoy doing with Nature Max and myself in the classroom, and I'm hoping that after all this is over, Nature Max and I will be back in the classroom for our summer camp activities. So today we're going to be using yeast again and something called hydrogen peroxide, 20%, which you can buy at Sally's Beauty Store. And we're going to take our yeast, and 20% is a little bit strong for children, so we're going to take some of that hydrogen peroxide, 20%. I'm going to take about this much. Now at home you probably have measuring cups, so I'm going to pour this in here so you can see about how much is in there. And I'm going to put in twice as much. This is my science beaker. And I'm going to pour it into here. So that's about how much we want, about half of the cup. And I'm going to take the other half and I'm going to pour in water, so we cut the strength in half. So it's about 10% hydrogen peroxide. And then into that hydrogen peroxide, we're going to add some food coloring. So we have 2 food coloring colors today, and you can buy food coloring at Acme. They have 4 colors in there. They have red, yellow, blue, and green, and you can choose with your children what color they want to use. And of course, you know, if you mix red and green, it makes purple, and that's what I'm going to use today. I'm going to use purple, and I'm going to pour it right into my bottle here, my empty bottle, my empty water bottle. And now I'm going to pour my peroxide solution, actually now 10%, half as strong as the bottle, into the bottle here. So this is essentially 10% hydrogen peroxide. We're going to pour in about that much. And then we're going to take some dish detergent, and dish detergent is any brand is fine. This is Palmolive, but any brand works, any color brand, any color I mean. And we're going to pour a couple of that in there, just a little bit of drop like that. And now I'm going to get some my yeast, which is over here. Again, remember, yeast is something that makes bread rise. And when the matzah was made leaving Egypt, remember, they didn't have yeast. They had to make bread in a hurry, so the bread they made turned out to be flat or matzah. And I'm going to take some of this yeast, and I'm going to pour it into my pitcher of warm water. Pour it a little bit out there so there's not as much. And I'm going to just pour that in there a little bit, probably about 2 or 3 tablespoons. And now I'm going to take the yeast and the water. I'm going to mix it up with my hand, which your children might enjoy doing. Actually, you can use a spoon or you can use your hand. And if you smell it, it actually smells like Cheerios. It smells like Cheerios. And the kids will have fun. You can ask them to guess what it smells like. And now we're going to take our yeast solution and we're going to pour it right into our bottle of hydrogen peroxide solution mixed with food coloring and dish detergent, and watch what happens. When you pour in the yeast into the peroxide, it breaks apart the hydrogen peroxide, separating the water from the oxygen molecules, and you'll see millions and millions and millions of oxygen bubbles come out of the bottle. And because we use dish detergent, it makes the bubbles even more foamy. So watch what happens when you pour it. It's so exciting. Your children will love this. I'll pour it in and just watch what happens. Here it's, notice how it's coming up through the column of the bottle. It's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up, and here it comes. It's going to come out. Whoa, check it out. Look at all those bubbles. Wow. Wow, look at all those bubbles coming out. Millions and millions of bubbles. And you know what else? If you touch these bubbles, they're warm. They're really, really warm. You can see there's so much that's just coming out. All the liquid has turned into bubbles. Wow, look at all those bubbles. Millions and millions of purple bubbles overflowing. It's incredible. This is science at its best. And if you look closely, you can see there's actually steam coming out. Look at all those bubbles coming out. Wow, this is really exciting. This is how you use yeast to make children excited about science. And those bubbles are filled with oxygen, the gas that we breathe. It just keeps coming out. It's amazing. And that's another way to use yeast. Hey, this is Nature Jack. Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And if you celebrate Passover, happy Pesach. Thank you.